We are going from top to bottom how to bar spin. From everything you gotta do mentally and physically before the bar spin, during, and after. Make sure you watch this entire video through because there will be very valuable tips all the way through, and if anything, the very end of the video, learning what you don't wanna do is probably the most valuable. There will be instructions on how to get the full guide. I have a Google Doc for you guys, obviously completely free. Consult that doc and you can either print it off, pull it up on something else, follow along as we go through, or just have it with you. So maybe if you're at the skate park, you're getting a little bit anxious because you're about to throw a bar spin, consult this doc. You can just screenshot it, whatever you got to do, go through the steps, run through it in your head and like, all right. And if you go to try bar spins after watching this video and you still find yourself stuck, go back to the document or rewatch the video, or better yet, both. So today I bring you the best how to bar spin tutorial to date. If you're all new to the channel, which these how-tos of course bring in a broad audience, make sure you check out the vlog. We've got staying 24 hours at a sketchy skate park. We've got a challenge where I try to do 1,000 bar spins in an hour. The goal of this channel is to provide as much value, laughter, entertainment, everything. I work really hard to make the best quality videos possible. So if you'd like to stick around and watch my other content, I really appreciate it. And let me know down in the comments below if I should make other how-tos with this same real in-depth format. Anyway, let's get into the bar spin. So as you see in the document, or as you will see in the document, there are 5 phases. Each phase has different steps. And then after that, we have an entire section on understanding the motion and form and don'ts. This is more than a how to bar spin. This is a course, a full-blown course on how after you watch this video and you spend a week on your bike, I'm very confident that every single one of you will be able to bar spin. Well, I wasn't gonna wear this shirt because it kind of blends in with the background, but I mean, it's how to bar spin. We gotta wear the bar spin merch, dog. If you learned something today, make me a deal, hit that like button and subscribe. But we are going to start before the bar spin. Phase 1 is the basics. Before you even start the bar spin, you need to understand which way to throw. Deciding direction is very important. Here's a general rule of thumb. Here's how it's traditionally done. And I see a lot of people, they learn at switch. And then if you're doing a switch bar spin as your normal bar spin, whenever you go to 180, you're gonna really be doing a bar spin and a half. But if you learn bar spins the correct way, you'll be tossing inside, kind of towards the way you're rotating, if that makes sense. Just learn it the right way. If you've already screwed it up, it's not that big of a deal. It's freestyle BMX, do whatever you wanna do, but general rule of thumb, I recommend learning the right way. Left foot forward, you're gonna throw with your left hand. Right foot forward, you're gonna throw with your right hand. Toss towards your front foot. That's step 1 of phase 1. Then you gotta learn the basic motion. So let's spend a little bit of time on this step here. The best way to learn the motion is to simply kind of pinch your bike with your legs, just standing. You're standing up, you're pinching your bike, lift your bike up and just toss it. You can do that. You can back it up against the wall and toss it like that. You can learn pull-up bars. There's lots of different ways that I'm sure you've heard in my how-tos and other how-tos on learning the motion. You just gotta get that dialed. If you can go by just pulling up or a pull-up bar or leaning against the thing or putting the pedal in your knee, there's a million different ways. As long as you got the motion and it's not, getting all over the place and you're not dropping it. If you can get the motion every single time, that's what you need to do before you start going off the ground. So once you've got the motion of the bar spins, that's only a fraction of it. Step 3 of phase 1 is actually getting the correct form. So not only do you have to learn the motion, but there's way more that goes into it. The way your entire body moves. So what I recommend is you get 1 to 2 feet off the ground, fly out or hop. It's personal preference, but from experience, everybody who I've seen learn hop, they're a little bit sketchier and they can't do them fly out. But everybody who does them fly out is a lot more clean and they can do them hop. So general rule of thumb, I usually recommend learning fly out of a small quarter or a bank. Really whatever ramp you're comfortable with at your local skate park. You're gonna wanna keep your weight completely even. And that means don't lean back, don't lean too far forward, which I never really see anybody leaning too far forward, but I see people, I'm sure you've done it or seen it yourself, where people go up, they go to throw the bar spin, but they fall off backwards and their bike shoots in front of them. You gotta keep your weight over your bike, and my thing is I like to try to keep my spine as parallel with my top tube as possible. Obviously, you're not gonna be completely flat, but you wanna keep an even weight over your bike, so that way when you throw it, it's just right under you. It's not out here going and it's a $10 who knows where. So make sure your weight is evenly distributed over the bike. And even if you go to do a pull-up bar, you probably know when you pull a bar, You're over the bike and the bar is just right here. It's in your lap. The bar needs to stay in your lap. There's no reason the bar should be up here. It needs to stay right here at all times, including halfway through the hop. I'm sure you've heard this, but pinching is key. Now, a lot of people say pinch the seat. Well, personally, I heard that and I was like, I can't pinch the seat. It doesn't make any sense. What I do is I pinch my cranks with my feet. So here's my front foot, here's my back foot. They're just sitting on the pedals, right? I like to dig this heel under the crank, this toe under the crank, and I'll throw some B-roll over this. So I start at the very bottom of my bike by pinching my cranks. Then I work my way up. So my feet are closer to the frame. Well, then my shins, my legs are pinching the frame. So from the pedals, clamped. Frame, steady. Because if you pinch that way from top to bottom, all the way from your cranks, from your shins to your knees in the seat. Now, your knees aren't going to clamp the seat unless it's really high, which you can raise your seat. That does help for sure. But in reality, my knees don't clamp the seat. They're right above it. But you try to get as close as possible to doing that. So if you've got the whole thing pinched, from what I've learned, especially learning switch bars because I struggled big time with that, is your bike is locked in. The best piece of advice I can give you regarding form, don't just try to pinch your legs. Start with your feet. Pinch your cranks, first of all, that sets your legs closer. Everything will be easier to pinch. Your bike's not going anywhere. It is locked in, so you don't got to worry about that one less fear that you're going to have. Because keep in mind, fear is just the absence of knowledge. Understand why your bike is doing what it does. So after everything's pinched, you got your ramp, you know how to pinch, you've got the motion down. When do you throw it? Well, once you're flying out 1 to 2 feet out of the ramp, wait until you're at your peak, which means you're not going up, but you're not going down. That's when you want a bar spin. You hop. You level out, throw it at the peak because your weight's going to be even. It's going to be way easier. Then come down and make sure you don't half-ass it. You got to complete the bus driver motion and you don't have to yank it. Nice and easy toss towards your body, not down, not away, towards your body in your lap while leaning over the bike. Since you already understand the motion, all you got to really focus on at this point is the form. Pinch the cranks. Throw at the right time, get the right height, make sure you're comfortable, toss it nice and easy towards you or bus it, whatever you gotta do. And then catching is pretty simple. You wanna throw with one hand, catch with the other. So that's the main bulk of this tutorial, but I'm still going to quickly run through the other phases because they are very valuable things to keep in mind. But that took a little while because that is the, how to bar spin. That's really it, but there's much more to it to help you and increase your odds of landing it quicker. And a lot of these steps are things that most other tutorials leave out, which I think is the most valuable. Chances are you've heard everything I just told you, but stick around because this is where it gets really good. And the final step 4 of phase 1 is understanding your common mistakes, and we'll get back to that later. Phase 2 is to prepare. 1, pad up, shin pads, ankle pads, bubble wrap, helmet, anything you gotta do to boost your confidence. My first hot bar spin, I was wearing knee pads, shin pads, I was wearing gloves and a helmet and ankle pads. Because if I felt like I was invincible, I was like, well, there's no reason not to throw it. Obviously, most people don't do that. It just depends. If you're really scared to throw it, pad up. It boosts your confidence. It'll work wonders. If you're not scared, it won't make a difference. But I will say, a lot of people, they'll spend like 30 minutes just not throwing it. They're either hopping, they're flying out, they just can't commit. But after you get that first throw out of the way, once you realize, hey, I'm not gonna die in a burning fire, it becomes a lot easier. Pad up. 2, find a good ramp / flyout. Kind of like we were talking when we were going through the actual how to physically bar spin. This, goes hand in hand with that. But, just make sure you find a comfortable place. If you've never done it there, but you think it's a good spot, get comfortable with it. Do every single trick you can already do on it. Know it like the palm of your hand. Or go to any ramp you're comfortable with. I've seen people learn it out of a 10-foot roll, and I've seen people learn it flat. I've seen people learn it off curbs, out of banks, out of 6-foot quarters, 3-foot quarters, 5-foot quarters. Anything that you are comfortable with, because in reality, it doesn't matter as long as you're getting about 1 to 2 feet off the ground. You don't want to go too low because then it gets all sketchy and you get freaked out. But if you go too high, it gets sketchy and you get freaked out. 1 to 2 feet is the sweet spot for learning. And visualize yourself doing a bar spin. This is massive. If you can't see yourself doing something, you'll never do it. Right before I'm about to land a trick that either I've never done before or I'm scared of, I just kind of sit there mentally in my head. You don't got to close your eyes. You just kind of take a moment, focus on what this trick looks like, see it through your eyes, just imagine yourself doing it. I've been doing this for years. If you're a fan of this channel, I learn things very, very, very quickly. No, I'm not like super good, but when I do want to learn something, chances are it'll only take me a few tries because I visualize. It sounds crazy. Sounds like some hippie nonsense. I tell you what, It's so important. Visualize yourself doing it in the first person. You're in the body, you're going. I did this most recent time I did this whenever I was doing a whip air. I'd relearned to whip air for the first time in a long time, and I was really scared of it. But I was trying some attempts, but I think it only took 2 minutes for me to do a trick that I've been scared of for years because I visualized. Phase 3, fails. Very important. Set up a camera or have someone film you in slow motion. That's step 1. Get that figured out. 2, give it a few real attempts on camera, preferably in slow motion with your friend filming. Give it some real good goes, not half-assed. That will never work. 100% commitment, give it some work. Step 3 is to study what's going wrong. I also do this. If a trick's just not working, I'll have my friend film it in slow motion, or most of the time I'm vlogging, but then I'll go back and I'll be like, oh, I'm leaning too far back, or oh, I'm throwing too early, I'm kicking too late. It's really easy to just dissect a slow motion video and be like, that's where that's going wrong. Fix it, and you'll get it next try in theory. Phase 4 is the bar spin. This one's simple. You need to correct all mistakes, study and understand anything that you're doing wrong. At this point, you know everything that goes into a bar spin from the form to the motion. Now you go to do it and it's not working. Well, why? Study that video of you failing, correct it, and then commit 110%. Step 2 of phase 4 is to repeat the fails phase. Repeat phase 3 until you get the results you're looking for. Phase 5 is the honeymoon. Enjoy it while you can, because eventually you'll get bored, want to move on to tail whips, and those hurt. So enjoy bar spins while you're still in the honeymoon phase. And step 2 of phase 5 is you can finally graduate to the I Can Barspin shirt. So congratulations on that. Check out my store down below, right next to this document link. Now moving on to the don't section. I don't really have to explain this too much, but I don't hear people talking about it all that often. When you're watching yourself in the fail phase, you're going to realize, hey, don't do this, don't do that. But let's take it a step further. Let's say you've tried it, you've watched yourself do it, you've corrected, but you still don't get it. Let me read off some don'ts for you and see if there's anything that I say that you haven't found out that maybe you're like, hey, that might be my problem. Let me correct it for you. Huge one. Number 1, do not throw down. 2, same thing. Do not throw away from you. 3, do not lean back at all. Don't do it. The only time you should ever lean back in a bar spin is if you're good enough to do bar spin to manuals. That's the only time. And even then I don't lean back that much. 4, this is kind of obvious, but a lot of people just, they know it, but they need to hear it. Sometimes you know something, but you just need that confirmation. Do not half-ass it. Send it 100%. 5, never take your feet off. If you're having trouble with your feet coming off, go back and listen to when I talk about pinching, because if you pinch your cranks, you do that in motion, your feet will never come off. They're locked in like glue and your bike is steady. 6, don't catch overhanded. It's a bad habit and it looks ugly. And finally 7, do not throw X up because it's just sketchy, ugly. Everybody I see do it just generally struggles with the trick. It's much easier to do it the proper way. And then on the document, we have the understanding the motion and form quick guideline. So that's the how to bar spin. Let me know in the comments below if I should make other how-tos just like this format. And hit that like button so I know you liked it. Thank you guys for watching. And if you feel like it, hit up my podcast down below. I have this cool series called the Sponsor Series where my fans send in their edits. I react to them on the podcast. We just hang out. And at the end of it, I pick one that I like the most and I send you some merch. So that sounds interesting. If you want to enter that, go check that out. I'll see you in the next how-to. Maybe a vlog if you feel like sticking around, and good luck.